Administrative Secretary for Health, Dr. Andrew Mulwa, and Dr. Simon Juguna, all protocol observed. Good morning and welcome to this day as we commemorate the World Suicide Prevention Day 2021. We indeed join the world in marking this day that is marked in the 10th of September each year. And the theme for this year is creating hope through action. So I will take this moment to welcome Dr. Njuguna, the Director for Mental Health, to be able to give us our opening remarks. Karibu Daktari.
So thank you, Dr. Amboi. Good morning. I take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this observance of the World Suicide Prevention Day. As you have heard, the theme for this year is creating hope through action. So this day is dedicated for people to take action. We know suicide prevention can only be achieved by all of us working together. And working together, we can be able to create hope. Here, we are happy for our chief guest, Dr. Rashid Aman, and the Director of Preventive Promotive, Dr. Adro Munwa. So without taking much time, I hand over the program back to Dr. Amboi, who will call someone who have lived with the experience. We know when you have lived the experience, you are the expert who can tell us, and we can learn a lot from you. Dr. Amboi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Njuguna, the Director of Mental Health, for the remarks as we begin the session today. And indeed, creating hope through action, that is the theme for this year. And this theme is really quite diverse, and as diverse as we are, there are many actions we can take in our various capacities. It doesn't matter who you are, be it a child, be it a parent, be it a neighbor, be it a community member, be it a colleague. There's something that in your capacity, in your sphere of influence, you can be able to do and be able to reach out to somebody who is at their darkest moment and be able to save and touch their lives. So in the spirit of reaching out and being able to help somebody, we do have in our midst someone who has a lived experience, who is ready to share his story, what he went through and how far he has managed to come, the kind of support he has gotten, and how that has made him to be able to even go ahead and touch various lives that he interacts with. So allow me to welcome Mr. Brian. Kindly come join me so that then you can be able to share your own story and experience to encourage someone. Thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Peris, and thank you to the Ministry of Health for organizing this event today as we commemorate the World Suicide Prevention Day. And I'll start by saying that I believe that people can be helped by various means other than helplines. Sharing one's concerns with someone other than a trained listener is a critical element of psychology that can help alleviate suffering and often provide resolution of one's problems. This was something I learned through my own experience. My name is Brandy Manuel. I'm a visual and performing artist, cybersecurity enthusiast, a brother, friend, and a son, and also a passionate mental health advocate and a suicide survivor. Having experienced several traumas in my childhood, amongst them bullying and sexual abuse, I found myself drowning into depression in my mid-teenage life. I remember my first suicide attempt in high school, having trouble fitting in because of my perceived humble background that deteriorated my self-esteem. To an extent, it greatly affected how I interacted with my environment and also affected my schoolwork. Despite being a sharp witty and inquisitive teenager. It got to a point that I really hated myself for being who I was, fighting with negative thoughts about oneself, self-harm, and suicidal ideations. I thank God it never went as I had initially planned. It did not end there. The ideations to take my own life crept in my mind, hovering over me like a dark cloud, or should I say, a black dog that I couldn't get rid of even if I tried. Anxiety was one thing that I suffered from, and it almost took away my dreams of being who I wanted to be at that time, a communications designer. Why? The anxiety attacks got the best of me during my KCSE examinations, and I ended up not achieving the scores that I hoped for. I found myself in the same dark swirl of self-hate, hopelessness, despair, and I attempted to take my life again. I found myself, this was my turning point. I was tired of going round in this vicious cycle of depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideations, and accepted the fact that I wasn't okay. Speaking up is one thing that saved my life. If I had not done so, I wouldn't be here right now speaking up on behalf of my peers about this greatly shunned and stigmatized topic. Mwanaume ni kujikaza is one phrase that I heard over and over again, even after being diagnosed with major depressive disorder and bipolar disorder. But with a good and strong support system, practicing self-awareness and adhering to my medication, I was able to overcome and meaningfully participate in my society on an equal basis with others who do not cope with a mental health problem. When it comes to suicide, it is common knowledge that many survivors try to get help before attempting to take their own lives. The good news is that you do not have to go back into that dark corner to get help. We can all benefit from learning to communicate our concerns and intentions to one another, because speaking up is key. This includes checking up and listening to the other person. This way, we will create a world in which everyone shares themselves without fear of stigmatization, rather than sometimes harming ourselves or succumbing to suicide is not a criminal act, nor is it work of benevolent spirits. It's a symptom of an underlying mental health problem. Let's work towards ending the stigma of suicide, discrimination of suicide survivors, and let's work towards building back better a society that offers effective preventive interventions and quality mental health care that are human-based. To my brothers and sisters, who are coping with a mental health problem, and many of those who have survived suicide attempts, you are not alone. I am amongst thousands of suicide survivors, and I believe that there is hope. It is our responsibility as persons with lived experiences to speak up, to be at the forefront championing for mental health awareness and suicide prevention. Together, we can end the stigma and decriminalization of suicide. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brian, for courageously sharing your story, your experience, and your narration so that you can touch somebody. And indeed, as you look at our banner for the day, we do have a ribbon as part of the commemoration for this day. And that ribbon is really to signify that you can be that beacon of light to somebody. And one of the activities you can do is like sharing your story, like our dear colleague here, Brian, has done. And by doing so, you share your story, you reduce the stigma that is associated with suicide, with even suicidal behavior, depression, and even mental health seeking behavior, so that then we transform the views of the society to be able to encourage each other to seek help and be able to touch lives. So at this point, I would like to welcome the acting director, Directorate of Medical Services, Preventive and Promotive Health, to be able to give his remarks as well as invite our chief guest for his speech. Thank you very much, and karibu Dr. Mulwa.
Thank you to the CIS, Ministry of Health, Dr. Rashid Aman, the Director of Mental Health, and the ministry team, members of the Fourth Estate. Today, we are delighted to join the rest of the world to celebrate the World Suicide Celebration Day, Suicide Prevention Celebration Day, that is celebrated every year on the 10th of September. And as the Ministry of Health, we are glad to have the Honorable CS grace our today's occasion. I think suicide, homicides, and other mental health issues have become very juicy stories both in social media and even in mainstream media, where a lot and many young people especially are indulging themselves in mental health, in suicide. And this really needs an urgent redress, and that is exactly what the Ministry of Health is doing. And as we celebrate this day today, we can assure the public, the members of the public, that the Ministry of Health will take leadership in ensuring that we reach the population with the services that will ensure that we prevent suicide among us, younger people, and all the cohorts of the population. My humble duty today is to invite our chief guest to make remarks on behalf of the ministry. I take this opportunity to humbly invite the CIS, Dr. Rashid Aman, to make the keynote speech. Asante.
Thank you, Dr. Mulwa. Good morning, everyone. I must say it is very pleasing to the eye to see that we are awash in orange today, but not to be confused with a political rally. We are here for a very serious matter, and I will now read my speech. I am very honored as well as delighted to join this event that is taking place today here, where we are marking the World Suicide Prevention Day. This particular Suicide Prevention Day this year has the theme creating hope through action. Hope through action. This is indeed a reminder that suicide is not an option and definitely not a solution to any problem. Through our actions, no matter how big or small, we can provide hope to those who are struggling. In recent times, we have been going through a very difficult time with many stresses due to the current pandemic that we are experiencing. Our young people are experiencing unemployment as well as heightened anxiety levels, leading to increased use of alcohol, breakups in relationships, and the upsurge of domestic violence. And all of these have been very well covered in the media over the past several months. Humans and humanity show their best and their worst during times of difficulties and adversity, such as the times that we're going through now. We must choose to bring out our best in difficult times. We must bring out our best, and we must support each other as each and every one goes through difficulties. We must be compassionate to each other. We must practice kindness. We must be patient with each other and support one another. Let us encourage each other as colleagues, neighbors, parents, friends, or even children, and uplift someone who is at his darkest moment. I think the remarks made by the young gentleman here are very moving and very powerful in terms of what people go through, those who have experienced these difficulties and have even chosen the path of terminating their life. What do they go through? What does their mind go through? It is hard for others to understand. And that is why it's important to have champions such as the young gentlemen who are here to try to make others understand this problem. And we must strive to try to understand what are the root causes that lead to these conditions. We have lost many lives to suicide in the recent past. Statistics show that in 2019, 1 in every 100 deaths the world over is due to suicide. In Kenya, 1 in every 4 deaths. No, we lose about four lives every day due to suicide. In all the media reports on the worrying trends of suicide in the country, which is bound to get worse if we don't act. This, fellow Kenyans, is alarming and can affect each and every one of us. We may feel that we are isolated from these problems, but they will touch us somewhere along the line. I therefore implore all of us to raise awareness, normalize seeking mental health care, to reduce the stigma around suicide and participate in well-informed action which will ultimately reduce instances of suicide in our country. Those who are most affected by suicide in most countries, including ours, are the young people. And these are people who are the most productive in our society and our future leaders. While we fully acknowledge that suicide is an intricate yet preventable public health problem resulting from the interactions of various factors, including psychological, social, biological, environmental factors, we need to do the best we can to deal with these problems. Identify the root causes, establish systems to be able to support those who are going through these difficulties. For this reason, we need to employ a multifaceted approach in its prevention. Suicide is not simply a health problem. It cuts across many sectors, and we need a multi-sectoral approach in dealing with suicide. I therefore call upon all of us to have coordinated efforts from all sectors, including the health sector, the education sector, labor, agriculture, and engage partners at the county government's level, the private sector, faith-based organizations, civil society, and non-governmental organizations for synergy. In order to achieve a comprehensive public health action to prevent suicide, we need to educate the population at large, and more so the vulnerable groups. We can do this through activities geared towards environmental control of risk factors and means, as well as early identification and effective treatment of people with mental health and substance use disorders, as well as responsibly reporting these matters in the media. And I'm happy to see that the media has come out in large force today to cover this day that we are commemorating. And I believe it's because the media also has a role to deal with this problem, to educate Kenyans on the importance of us being able to have a coordinated approach towards dealing with problems such as mental health and suicide in particular for this day. You will recall that the Cabinet Secretary for Health launched the Mental Health Action Plan, which is a roadmap for the various activities that need to be undertaken as we work towards a mentally healthy nation. Moreover, it outlines how Kenyans can utilize the telemental platforms that are being set up to respond to and provide support for mental health care from across the country. The ministry has also fully supported the team developing the Suicide Prevention Strategy 2021-2026, which is in its final stages of preparation and expected to be launched very shortly. This strategy is a response to a global call by the World Health Organization aimed at reducing suicide mortality through the amendments of relevant legislative framework and policies for effective suicide prevention and development, as well as implementation of a data system on suicide risks and surveillance. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, due to the complex nature of suicide, I ask all of us to have integrated and multi-sectoral approach for successful prevention. And everybody has a role in this endeavor. This includes encompassing mental health, social, economic, and community factors through an integrated framework as well as individual concerted efforts. I therefore call upon all relevant stakeholders, whether in schools, colleges, corporate sector, small and medium enterprises, Juakali sector, informal settlements, rural areas, and the agricultural sector to support this process. And I also call upon the media to support this process because the media has a very important and critical role in educating the public. I am confident that this strategy will inform the coordination, partnerships, and monitoring necessary to guide implementation of successful suicide prevention mechanisms in order to achieve the set vision of a healthy nation where there are fewer deaths from suicide. Thank you. I think we can field a few questions. If you have any questions, I have the experts here with me. If you have, this is the opportunity now for you to field any question that you may have. If there are no questions, then I will leave you in the capable hands of the team here and the experts. And I want to thank very much the mental health department and those that have been working with their supporters for setting up this day to celebrate World Suicide Day. So this team will be available for you if you need any specific details or further information from them. They will respond to you. Thank you again.
So at this juncture, there are many activities which will continue going on during the day. At night, we normally encourage people to light a candle at 8 p.m. next to the window. And this is in solidarity for people who are suicide survivors and those who are bereaved by their family members. And also at this juncture, I would ask us to observe 1 minute of silence in solidarity and in respect for those who have lost life through suicide, the bereaved families, and also for our commitment that we are going to take actions to create hope and prevent suicide. I think Dr. Amboi will tell us when the minute begins and when it ends.
All right, I will count up to 3, then the minute will begin. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, thank you very much for the observance of the silence. It's in honor to every life that has been lost through suicide. Kindly, even in our communications via social media, let us do the hashtag #BeTheLight so that we can make it trend and let everybody know that there is something in you that you can do to reach out to somebody and also touch a life. Thank you very much, and I wish you a very good day, and welcome the director.
So I think at this juncture, our commemoration has come to an end. But as we end, I would like to mention that for those who could be in distress, we have various helplines. We have 1199, which is run by Kenya Red Cross. You can see they are here. So anyone out there who may be in any form of distress can call through 1199. Can also call through 719, which is a helpline run by the Ministry of Health. And there are many more other lines, but within our strategy, we'll be able to coordinate this. So I thank you, CS, Dr. Rashid, and Dr. Murwa, and the members of the media for joining us. And the event has come to an end.